The Bayosa unit is the cream of the crop in El Salvador's army. American trained at Fort Bragg, North Carolina, the group operates all over the country as a quick reaction team. Trained in anti-guerrilla tactics, the Bayosa unit waits for the intelligence reports of where guerrilla concentrations are and then moves in, establishing forward positions and going where the enemy is. Trouble is that the enemy isn't always there. The guerrillas, like this Braz regiment, pride themselves on avoiding combat when it suits them and initiating combat on their terms. It doesn't always work out that way, but it does make the guerrillas an infuriating enemy. Still, the army thinks it's winning and doing so on schedule.
This
isn't a question of one day to the next. This is a process, and it's that's what we're planning. And yes, the moment will come when we will give them the final blow. Pronto? I'm not quite sure what soon means to you. I think that things are progressing quite quickly, and I could say soon.
A perfect example of what Colonel Monterosa means was this operation, reestablishing Army control, if only temporarily, of the mountain town of Corinto. 10 minutes before the soldiers came in, carefully, a column of 50 guerrillas had fled into the hills. The colonel in charge explained the operation.
Well, in truth, this zone of Morazán province is very embattled as far as the ambitions that the subversives have of controlling Morazán province. So we, as the armed forces, we have promised the Salvadorian people that before, during and after the elections and to the consolidation of the new president, we're going to be in a state of alert.
The evidence of a recent guerrilla departure was not hard to find, and indeed as soldiers busied themselves removing offending revolutionary banners, a guerrilla could be seen on the hillside about a mile off, almost daring the army to come forward. That the army did, first drawing guerrilla fire from a helicopter to establish their position. Then opening up with 81mm mortars, which were set up in a matter of minutes in the town square. The mortars appeared to hit near where the lone guerrilla had been, and the army immediately gave chase, setting up rearguard positions to cover the arduous advance of the cazadores, or hunters. But again, the guerrillas retreat, vanishing almost. There will be no contact this day. For the people, contact or no, life in disputed areas is bad and getting worse. Both sides are guilty of the excesses of war. This woman was taken by the army 2 weeks ago and beaten and abused for collaboration with the guerrillas. Others complain of forcible recruitment by the guerrillas. What it boils down to for 26-year-old Tonio Portillo and his wife, child, and 4 cows is that he is caught in the middle of a war he, and he suspects most people he knows, want no part of.
Well, the situation is that the people who haven't got weapons want to have freedom to work. They don't want the pressure from either of the two bands. And neither of them are really the alternative.
The operation in the mountains of Morazán province continues, and the similarity between the two waking armies is striking. On the one hand, the awaking soldiers, and on the other, the guerrillas rising. Salvadorans all, representing 2 of the country's finest fighting brigades. Committed men who in other circumstances would probably enjoy each other's company, instead of seeking each other's destruction. It has been a typical operation. The army moves, the guerrillas flee. Skirmishes take place, but no definitive action, no significant change in the balance of power. The army appears to have the upper hand for now, but they are facing a determined and experienced enemy, an enemy which lies in waiting not far from here. Lee Green, CNN, near Corinto, El Salvador. And of the horror of its war. forward army position. The battle-hardened troops wait in tense anticipation. Only a couple of thousand yards away are the guerrillas. Some prefer to think of other things. The army is pulling out all the stops in its battle against the rebels. This helicopter shot at the guerrillas, but as can be heard, the guerrillas were shooting back. The army has other resources, such as artillery firing under the supervision of American advisors. Or airstrikes with missile launches. These operations are continuing. Indeed, there are operations on a similar scale to this one in 8 separate guerrilla areas. One worry is that the offensives are killing innocent people, particularly the bombings. Colonel Rivas of Tejutepeque says no.
No, the armed forces have never bombed civilian populations. Since we know that this is, instead of helping us, damages us. So that we have our commanders and those people carrying out this operation, the first thing that they have in mind is not to attack the civilian population.
In spite of that assurance, the people here are concerned. This woman has heard stories of houses being bombed. She's scared.
Because when they say that they bombarded the town of Tejutepeque, many of the houses around the edges were destroyed. Bombs fell in the houses and they were destroyed.
It would appear that the Army's efforts are paying off to some extent. Guerrilla bodies are a fairly common sight. This one appeared to have been captured prior to his execution.
Charlie, ya le dimos con todo, aquí con gas, con todo, con granadas de mano y con todo volado le hemos dado, pero no lo podemos sacar ese muelón de ahí. Bueno, Charlie, yo voy a tratar de sacar este jodido, pero lo que me interesa es sacar el MEA de ahí, porque no es bien difícil. Ya todo el día hemos tratado de sacarlo y no hemos podido. Ahí para ese lugar va, para donde está usted va macho 1 y le va a decir cómo está la situación aquí, cambio.
The Pan American Highway links North and South El Salvador and is a favorite target for left-wing guerrillas. Army spotter planes were moved into the area, but not before cars and a bus had been shot at. Checkpoints of other traffic on the road were made by nervous conscripts. There had already been people injured, though not killed. This man was soon helped by the Red Cross. Soldiers from nearby areas in the capital San Salvador were sent in to reinforce foot patrol. But by then, the guerrillas had disappeared into the surrounding jungle. A convoy of vehicles, including heavy trucks carrying food and building materials, were forced to a halt as the soldiers tried to resume control over an area only 15 miles from their barracks. Despite so-called democratic elections, in which more than 50% of the population took part, the guerrillas say they're determined to carry on their fight to restore popular rule. They claim the elections were illegal.
Oh, ahí tiene que ir. Una pared te voy moviéndolo ahí. Que lo traen M60, ¿por qué? M60, M16.